And the thing with information operations is that they don't really respect the borders. Like they can start in somewhere in, I don't know, in Caucasus or in Moldova, but then the next minute they are targeting a company in Poland, or the next day they are targeting the company in the UK. Recently, we caught a new type of information operation involving a crypto scam targeting clients of the major banks. And this operation is being run from Southeast Asia, but it's targeting customers simultaneously in Czech Republic and UK. And then right now we are seeing this being scaled to the markets in, or maybe franchised to the markets in Spain and Portugal. So that's how it's showing, but it's still operating from Southeast Asia. And since it's targeted Czech Republic first, it was tested on Czech Republic. When it came to the UK or when it's coming to Spain, we already know how it works. We already know how to detect it, how to fight back. While some of the organizations that are running primarily, they're collecting primarily their threat intel in focuses in the markets like UK or the US. When it reaches them, it's already too late for majority of the customer. Therefore, like there is a, as you said, a lot of the importance in the local and distributed intelligence.
Yeah, and that's something that it is a reality of the markets, right? The US is the biggest market in the world, so majority of the vendors focus there and they develop their tools, focus on that, and it makes sense. But then there is no. The rest of the world speaks a different language, speaks different, has different cultures. There are different companies. Those companies are huge. Local banks, in Spain, they're all over the world. Like German banks as well. We have a lot of pharmaceutical companies in Germany that are all over the world. And then the campaigns start in German, and by the time they go to English, that's the moment that these bigger vendors are seeing it. But you are able to cover many more countries and many more languages because you're focusing on those local situations as well.
It's a great point about the languages, because we started 3 years ago and we started multilingual first. So we started by analyzing right away many languages. I think right now we are supporting 34 or 35 languages. And the thing is, back in the day, it was complicated for the cyber criminals and the hostile states to create a good quality multilingual campaigns. But that changed. That changed a year ago, and it's changing right now. That everything is in multiple languages, and you cannot distinguish that as a low quality translation anymore. So all of the campaigns that we are seeing right now, they're multilingual at the stage 0, and then if you at the patient 0, they're right away multilingual. And then if you are if you are scanning only English media space, then you are risking losing those campaigns. Recently, we had one campaign that was targeting Moldova. It started in Romanian, then was translated to Russian, then was translated to Ukrainian, then was translated to Romanian again, and it was like circulating all around
Searching for
Moldova.
product market fit, right?
Exactly. It actually was building the audience. It was like collecting a bit of the audience and credibility in Romania, then collecting a bit of the audience and credibility somewhere in Russia, then trying to get something from Ukraine, and then finally targeting Moldova. It was like millions of views under the stories. And if you are scanning only one country and you're like just looking into one language, it's no way you understand that this is the same campaign. For you, it's like, it's just tiny fraction of it.
Could you walk me through what is a typical campaign that you see that is affecting a major institution, let's say a bank? Are we seeing CEO impersonation? Are we seeing brand duplication? What are the typical things that we see today?
I think many of the people still think about information operations and then other types of cybersecurity threats as different things, as another thing that might be targeting them, but usually they are working together. Like you've said about the banks, and I think recently we've been talking to a few large international banks. There is like an interesting campaign, but basically the execs of the banks are being used in the advertisement to lure people to the replicas of the reputable news websites. Like you have replicas of the BBC, Financial Times, and so on. And those executives and the advertisement and the social media posts with their faces are luring people to the replicas. And on those replicas, people are being lured to the scam crypto apps which are branded on behalf of the bank. So, and basically like, here is another investment opportunity from our bank. Check it out. Here's my interview on BBC where I'm telling about it. And there is like this whole campaign, and then people eventually fall for this crypto scam. And sometimes it has additional angles to it. Sometimes those apps, they fish for the credentials to the banking apps. Then sometimes they distribute malware. In another case, we've seen a false story about a false rumor about the mass layoffs at the banks being spreaded through the social media in order to do a short bet on the bank stock. In some of the other cases, we've seen a false rumor about the bank stability and the false financial statements of the banks being distributed in order to do a run on a bank and harm the bank position in a new market. So there are a lot of things. And also last one, I think, which is very interesting, we've seen synthetic identities, unexisting employees of the banks, running recruitment on behalf of the bank, scamming people to later, like they would run people through the recruitment process and then tell, okay, right now you are hired. We'll be sending you the equipment and so on and so forth. Just send us here like $500 for the shipment, and we will compensate it to you with the first compensation. And that
These
will be
people
done
is
on behalf
very
of the bank.
creative.
Oh,
These people is but
you know,
it's unbelievable, and it's very complex, right? Like it's multi-step. It's not like a simple, phishing type of attack that is just impersonating everyone. It's like there are too many steps to try to create some level of credibility, and then based on that credibility, see how they can, get the most out of whoever is the victim. Like maybe the victim is institution, or maybe are the clients or partners or employees. It's like, usually when you talk about cybersecurity, the path is kind of clear, right? At the end of the day, today, most of them are ransomware related or credential, related to try to get some level of money out, like selling the credentials or ransom or some ransom related request. But here, even your customers can be very much affected at the same time that your institution's reputation. So there is a lot of different layers of issues. Because I assume it's getting more complex every year now with all the tools available.
Yeah, I think that's it's definitely becoming more and more interesting. I think my level of what surprises me every month is resetting, because this campaign that I've told you about, when you have the deepfakes of the famous people or the executive that would basically that would be advertised to get people to the replicas, doppelgangers of the reputable websites, and then later on would get them to the scam apps. This level of campaign, it's similar to the campaign that was running by the hostile state 3 years ago. And back in the time, it was unprecedented. Like no one's seen anything like that before. It was all over the news. It was targeting European countries during the elections, and everyone was shocked by like the techniques used. And now this campaign is being used by the average, by the, let's say, some crypto gang from Southeast Asia that is just targeting clients of the banks in Czechia. So that's the let's say the level of the complexity of the campaigns is increasing a lot, and the accessibility of the tools is also increasing. Like right now, you have the whole deepfakes videos with those famous people bragging about their earnings from those crypto apps.
It's unbelievable. Like technology can really create so many opportunities to make money in a good way and in a bad way, right?
Yeah, but I think the good part for us, and basically a bit of hope here, is that the nature of the information operations didn't change. Like the tools did change, but the nature didn't change. You always have a certain intent. You always have a certain target. So usually you would have an organization that would be targeted. You would have a certain intent. You want to harm it. You want to like make a bad reputation for it, or so on and so forth. You would have an intent, and then you would have a coordinated effort to reach that target. And if you look at the media space in that way, you can see that suddenly a number of accounts started posting a bad story about a bank, right? And it doesn't really matter. It does matter, but in reality, it doesn't. If
Yep.
if they are doing that through people or if they're doing that through the LLMs, the idea is the same. And if if you have a good detection, you can spot that early on. And I think the hope lies in the economy of that all, because it's very cheap to run information operations right now. It costs nothing to create the
Yep.
content. It costs nothing to create the deepfakes and so on and so forth. But to set it up, to like build the pipeline, to connect the things, to connect the models, to set up all the whole infrastructure, you still need to do the investment on the cyber criminals side. But in order for the campaign to make the impact, it need to run for a certain time. It need to build its funnel of the victims and so on. So if you are able to detect it at the inception phase and strike down, they already made the investment. And you are basically changing the economy of it all, because they made the investment and you kill it at the patient zero. Therefore, it does not make impact and make no returns for them. And for you, it's quite cheap to retaliate at the patient zero, because you just need to determine the assets that they use, do the request for a takedown for the assets, and then warn your audiences in a
Yep.
pre-banking mode about the campaign that they're facing.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense, and that's where LetsData comes in, right? I know you are able to provide an earlier warning than to like the customers. You are able to prevent, to help the customer prevent, the whole operation, because you can detect these things earlier enough.
Yeah,
That's
that's the promise.
the promise.